All right, so welcome everyone to our first shared services with HR Biz Solution for the new year. And then it sounds like everybody's switching over to Monkey Pod. So we've got lots of changes going on. So make sure that you're staying tuned to Arts Build with our social media and with ArtsWire. If you don't have ArtsWire, our weekly newsletter that comes out on Thursdays, please just log on to artsbuild.com and I'll throw that in the chat. Um, and you'll be prompted as soon as you go to artsbuild.com to put in your email address so that we can stay in touch with you with ArtsWire. We list job openings, grant opportunities, internship opportunities, you name it. It's all listed there for our local arts and culture community. So I am Amy Loudermilk. I am the programs manager for Arts Build. Happy to be here with you today on Arts Advocacy Day. So we are recording for those who are not able to join us, who are ready to get in and work with Arts Advocacy Day. So no worries there. We're also live on Facebook. But today we are joined by Angie Bandy of HR Biz Solutions, who's going to address some of the significant challenges that we faced in the workplace these past 2 years. And she's going to help us to establish a new normal. Everybody's heard that over and over again as it relates to our roles as employers. So with that, I'm going to let Angie take it away and work with you guys.
Great, thanks, Amy. So again, like she had mentioned, my name is Angie Bandy, and I am here with HR Business Solutions. And can everyone see my title page on my screen? Great, thank you. I've just looked at the top 3 things that we are hearing from employers, not just here in the greater Chattanooga area, but throughout the country, and just thought we'd take some time to look at these, explore what is going on, what are the most significant changes these last few years. You might be tired of hearing the term new normal, but by golly, that's really where we are right now. We've had to make a lot of changes, both personally and professionally. And I think one of the biggest challenges too is to remember that so have our employees. And so some of the things that we are hearing include the following. First, some of my staff wants to stay home. What can you do about that? Second thing we're hearing, my staff wants more money. And third, a lot of employers are asking themselves, what are some of the safety precautions should I require? This was quite the topic let's say 6 months ago. And there are some folks who are now saying, well, yeah, we're beyond that, or we're past that. And maybe, but we thought that last year at this time too. So there are just some questions that you as an employer really have to ask yourself, and what you need to face, you and your board, as we move forward. So we'll just look at these individually, kind of explore this, and I'd love for it to be interactive. So whether you throw something up in the chat or you just unmute yourself and say it out loud, we can have a conversation. And then when we're done with all of these, we'll figure out what else is going on in your businesses. Jump into the first one. Some of your staff wants to work from home. Yeah. You've never done this before, and it's so easy to say, I'm sorry, that's just not the way we work. But ask yourself, what will your business tolerate? Some businesses, it works well that some people are remote for 100% of their time. Some folks you need on site for 100% of the time. Is there a hybrid? That some organizations are moving towards that. There's like one day where everyone in the office is there, maybe on a Tuesday, where the collaboration and the meetings can happen. Or you say to your employees, okay, I need you on site for 16 hours per week. You choose those 16 hours. But you ask yourself, why are your employees asking for that? And if your business can't tolerate what they want, what are they really asking for? How flexible can you be? We're hearing folks are offering 4 days a week. So employees come in, they may work 10 hours a day, or they come in for 3 days, 12 hours apiece, or working non-traditional days. Maybe you're closed on Monday. So you've got employees coming in Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday and Monday to help meet some of the needs while you've been those days that you've been traditionally closed. And why are they asking what they're asking for? Maybe it's because they've got into this routine where in the afternoons they have been working out and they've been taking this class. Well, can you accommodate 2 hours of them leaving in the middle of the day? Because maybe that's all they want. Or somebody is saying, I don't want to come back to work. I got a puppy during the while we were home, and so I don't want to leave my puppy. Can you be dog friendly? Can this person bring their dog to work? Again, everybody is a little different. Every work environment is different, but we really want to ask ourselves, why are our employees asking to work from home? And is it realistic, that they could at least be accommodated somewhat? The second thing that we are hearing, my staff wants more money. And of course you're saying, yes, well, don't we all? The current inflation at last check was 7%. Some are speculating that it's going up to 10%. Are you in a position to increase pay? And if you have been hiring new employees or employees to your organization in the last few months, are you paying them more than you're paying your current employees? There's times like this where what we call compression happens, where individuals who are new to the organization, just because of supply and demand, are making equal or just less than what your current employees are making. And somehow they know that your current employees, they know that that new folks are coming in at a different rate, and some may feel like they're not being treated fairly. If you're not in a position to compensate more as far as pay, what are some other ways you can compensate individuals? Often compensation is really the way that we show appreciation to employees, especially in the United States. Hey, we think you're valuable, so we pay you more. But we're not always in a position to do that. And we can ask ourselves, how do we show sincere gratitude? We can increase benefits. What are some things that your employees like? The flexible time that we just talked about. Other benefits, ask them what is important to them. Maybe trade with other Arts Build members or neighboring businesses for experiences and gift cards. Someone had shared that the millennials are more interested in experiences as a whole than tangible items. So you may have some employees who would look at different experiences around town, or honing new skills, learning new crafts as a real benefit. You may just remind your employees too of what you currently offer. They may have been taking it for granted and not even realizing that that is a benefit. Ongoing training, maybe computer software, paid memberships. Do you have employees who are members of professional organizations and you pay for that annual membership? If so, it's an opportunity to remind them of just everything that you do for them. Maybe you need to reallocate or expand the offerings that you currently have. Looking at the benefits that you offer, are there benefits that people don't take advantage of? Maybe you don't need to be putting money into that, or some modifications. One thing that is starting to be really popular is looking at 401k matches. I don't know if your organization, TJ, has 401k matches, or if any of you out there have a 401k match, but do folks take advantage of that? And if not, remind them. Also, if not, ask them why. Some organizations are moving towards, instead of 401k matches, giving employees the option. We'll match that, or we will match a payment to your student loan. Because again, you may have some employees who still are working down their student loan debts or their loans. And if you match that, they could see that as a real benefit. It's just a matter of meeting different employees where they are, and recognizing that they have different needs. Okay. Fair and equal are not necessarily the same thing. The third thing that we're hearing a lot of, what health and safety precautions are you requiring? So your board of directors, you have the right to mandate safety precautions in the workplace. However, you want to make sure that you are paying attention to reasonable accommodations, which include someone's health status. One thing that came up a couple of years, well, within the last few years, is of the vaccine for COVID. And there were some individuals who were allergic to some items in the vaccine. So that would be a reasonable accommodation that you were required to make. You couldn't fire someone because they weren't getting the vaccine if they were allergic to it, or if it was against the religion that they have been practicing. Thankfully, there's a lot of information. This has really been spelled out by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So if you are requiring your vaccines or boosters, there's been a couple of things that folks locally have done. In the greater Chattanooga area, we've seen small employers who have given time off for folks to get a booster or to get their vaccine. We've also seen organizations give a bonus to individuals who show proof of the vaccine. Now, the challenge there, you want to be careful, because you don't want to make it too lucrative where individuals who cannot or do not get the vaccine will feel like they are being discriminated against. So usually $100 is about the max that you would want to pay up for that. And if you are requiring proof for any type of vaccine, you want to make sure that it's kept in a separate place from the employee file. What old rules do you have in place that are no longer relevant? So if folks are working from home, what does that mean for your organization on site? What are you paying for workers' comp insurance? You may want to look at that, or just the liability insurance for your on your property. Ask yourself, what has changed in these last few years with the changes that you've made in the way that you work? Again, these are the top 3 things that we are hearing, and we didn't want to, we wanted to leave a lot of time for discussion afterwards, but the key, I think, moving forward, I wanted to give you some steps that you want to take, is to figure out what this is looking like for you moving forward as an employer, as a member of the arts community in the Chattanooga area. Some steps that you can take, something that's becoming very popular, is called stay interviews. You've heard of exit interviews when you're trying to figure out why folks are leaving and what their motivators are and what you can do different next time. Well, with the tight labor market, stay interviews are these interviews you have, just like it implies with individuals who are staying, figure out why they're staying and make sure that you are capitalizing on that. Asking questions about what they would change or what is different, what makes them stay. All of these questions in an intentional time where it's one-on-one, they have found really means a lot to employees, and you get a lot of information. The second thing I'd like to encourage you to do is to leverage the relationships you have around town. Again, as we talk about ways to thank your employees, to compensate them in a way outside of just pay. What experiences, what opportunities can you do? And the last is listening. What is going on in the shops and stores around your location? What is happening in the arts community? What is happening with the Chamber of Commerce in the community? And of course, what is happening internationally? All of these things are affecting us as employers. We don't see a big change in the labor market. In the last few years, there's been a lot of individuals, for one reason or another, have realized that they don't need to work and they're not going to work. So we're feeling the crunch. And so to remain competitive in this market, we're going to need to remain connected to our employees. So setting aside time to really figure out where they are, what they need from you. Again, leveraging the relationships that we have, helping one another in the community, listening to what's going on around us. All of this is going to increase our involvement in what's happening so we can be the type of organization that attracts and retains the good talent that we have. So I ask you, have you seen a change in the number of individuals who are either applying for jobs? Have you been able to post positions? Have you had people leave? What does this look like for you? And with that, I'd just like to open it up for you to answer that question, even ask any other questions that you may have.
Okay, I'll go ahead and add something since Arts Build is currently in the process of hiring a replacement for our grants and community engagement manager. So we've been involved in those interviews. And James brought up an interesting point the other day of something that he read where if you ask a participant in an interview or an interviewee to provide any type of PowerPoint presentation, that you need to provide some type of payment for that. Have you read anything or heard anything about that?
I have not heard anything like that. I would, if there was someone, I would double check that. I mean, I would check that source, but if there was someone who was asking for that as an applicant, I certainly would rethink or really give a hard thought about adding that person to the organization. Now, I would say you don't hold on to it. And maybe that's where that article was going, that if it becomes your property, then somebody could ask for compensation. But if it was just something that they were showing and then leaving with, I've not ever heard of that before.
Okay. And see that's the direction that I was going in my thinking as well. And for the past few interviews that I've done before I landed here at Arts Build, that was a requirement, was to create a presentation. But in a lot of those cases, I know they're hypothetical presentations as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I have personally with my network of contacts have seen quite a bit of movement in terms of positions people are taking on. It could be, the age range that I'm in right now, where everybody's starting to move up to middle management and beyond. But yes, I definitely see the trend that you're talking about.
And one thing I think is interesting, and this is maybe more for mid and larger organizations, but typically when somebody moves up within their own organization, they see about a 3% salary increase. If they were to take a similar job at another organization, they see about a 5% increase. So the question really is why are we doing that to our own employees? And it just something interesting as far as exploring, and it really, I guess, goes looking. It's important to look at the job that folks are filling and what your pay, what the typical pay range is. And that stuff's easy to find. You go on to Glassdoor or Indeed, or there's a number. I'm not endorsing one or the other, but there's a number of different places that you can go, and you just type in the job title. You find jobs that have similar job descriptions and see what they're paying. You don't want to shortchange the employees that you already have if you're interested in retaining them, because there's so much informal information that just goes out the door when you lose a good employee. I don't know if there's any other thoughts that folks have. One thing I do see a lot of is organizations who hire contractors who then start melding into jobs that look like employees. So as a small business, you really want to be careful of that too. When you're first starting out, you want to bring somebody on, but not as an employee, because you don't really have that kind of work for them, but they've got a special skill. Maybe it's marketing. So you've got this contractor, and then there's this task, and then there's another job that you have them do, and then another job. And then as time goes on, all of a sudden, they're doing all sorts of things for your organization, and they have slowly crept into the definition of employee, but you haven't made that transition. So that's something that we see a lot in this area. So you really just be conscious of that, because the federal government is talking about really taking a look at small businesses and how they use contractors in these next few years. And I think it all really stems from all of the delivery services, your dinner delivered, Uber Eats, that type of thing, or even just the shopping. Are those folks contractors or employees? That's a very, very gray area. And so now the government's really looking at everybody and making sure that we're all treating folks who we are paying like they need to be treated.
I guess that's kind of where I'm looking at right now. I don't have any employees right now. All the people that I work with are contractors, but I don't also have full-time work for anybody. But I would love to be able to get into the position for that. So how do I decide when it's time to start hiring somebody as a full-time employee or even a part-time employee? What's the cutoff? Because again, right now, I'm doing all the administrative stuff. I'm doing all the booking and stuff. And I pay artists who come in, and I do puppets. I don't know if you caught that, but I pay artists who come in and perform with me, but I've also got a lot of, I'm not keeping up on my website. I'm not keeping up with the social media stuff. I'm just trying to figure out what the balance is, I guess, for that.
Sure. All right. Are you in Tennessee or Georgia?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. All right. So the state of Tennessee came up with um, a list of like 22, I think it's 22 different criteria to questions that you ask to determine whether it's an employee or a contractor. And it's as easy as going on and just Googling employee or contractor in Tennessee. But here's the main gist. You ask yourself, does the person have control over what the output is, or do I control what the output is? Does the employee, or excuse me, does the individual have the opportunity to do the work as he or she can do it? Or am I dictating the times? Now, it sounds like, though, with if you're talking about shows, specific shows, that you've got those times in your rehearsal times. But if there's anything outside of that, like if somebody was constructing a puppet, are you dictating when they have to construct that, or are you just going to pay them to get the job done? So that's really your question there.
Yeah, I'm mostly not dictating any time frame on it. And so far, I don't pay, well, I don't want to say I don't pay by the hour, but like when somebody does a gig for me, that would be by the hour, but it's also by the project. It's not, I don't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not spread out or anything like that. So, or I don't pay for a certain, for, you know, long, I don't pay for a month. I pay by each gig.
Pay by the gig. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another question then that you would ask yourself is, are they using are you supplying all of the product that they use, or do they bring their own materials and products to this opportunity, or to the task?
That in general, it's me. I'm generally supplying all the materials, and I mean, certainly when they're doing a gig, I supply the puppets and props.
Sure.
But yeah, even the people who are making things with me or for me, it's all coming out of my budget for the materials. So is the point that if they're providing it, then they're definitely a contractor, or is that I'm not sure what the question relates to.
That's one of the general questions that they will ask, or that they look at. Like if somebody were to come in and build, I don't know, let's say just build a stage, and they just bring everything, they're definitely a contractor. Now, if you already have the wood there, but they're coming in and they've got that special skill and they're building a stage, they're still a contractor. They're just using so it's not, every question is not just in a bubble in itself, but it's just tells kind of the story. It adds to the story of, is this person an employee or contractor? Another question that you would ask is, when the individual is done with the gig, do you ask him or her to do other tasks around the organization?
No, not generally.
So I would look at that list, but just from what I'm hearing you say, you're hiring performers who come in with an understanding of they've got the gig, and you're paying them by the gig. You're paying attention to how long it's going to take, but you're not paying them by the hour. So they're probably contractors for you. That would be the same thing as you're talking about your social media presence. There's a number of individuals around town who, you get in touch with and just say, I would like you to work up a new logo for me, or I would like for you to maintain my website or my social media presence. I'll feed you the information and you just make it, you work your magic and make it look appropriate. That also would be contract work. I'll tell you who it's really easy to get mixed up with sometimes is some of the summer interns, right? So if you have an intern that you want working from 8 to 5 and coming in just for a couple of months and you're dictating what he or she is doing, I see a lot of folks paying those individuals as contractors because they're short term, but really they're doing the job of employees. And I say all that just because, like I said, it's they're going to be looking at this a little closer than they have in the past, and it's just one of those things that you want to be aware of, so you don't have to you don't have to try to justify the way that you're paying folks. You don't have to go through all of that hassle, and worst case scenario, paying people as employees, including the overtime and then the fees and all. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. And I'm just going to whiz through this real fast for the end right here. So if you ever have a question, don't hesitate just to send an email to that info@hrbizsolutions.net. Just ask for Angie, and I'm happy just to share some general information with you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right. Well, thanks, Angie. Really appreciate that. Just wanted to put some stuff out there, some announcements real quick that Artsfield has. And feel free while I'm talking, if you've got a question that comes up, throw something in the chat. But I am going to put something in the chat that I hope that you will share with any high school artists that you are close to. We do have the Hamilton County High School Art Competition. The deadline for that is April 1st. We would love participation from all of our creative students in all of our Hamilton County schools. The artwork that is selected we will have cash prizes for first, second, and third place. The artwork will be on display in the first floor of the Hamilton County Courthouse for 1 calendar year. So I'm not able to pull up my link for that just yet. So if you would like more information about that, feel free to email me at amy@artsfield.com. I just put that in the chat. I'm happy to send that information to whoever is interested to share. But with that, I will let everybody head off to Arts Advocacy Day, and hopefully that's the next Zoom that you're about to log into. And we're only just a few minutes behind everybody else. So thanks, Angie, for being here. And thank you, all of those who are on Facebook Live and who joined us today. Thanks so much. And our next shared services workshop will be next Wednesday with Colleen Miller. So go ahead and mark your calendar for next Wednesday, the 16th at 10:30 in the morning. All right. Thanks, friends.